Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I am Arif and I welcome you all in today's session. To access the notebook for today's session, you can access course page on my personal website arif.me. You can click the appropriate link under the lecture resource column to view the notebook in NB Viewer and run it online in Binder. The other way is to download the notebook file from the course GitHub account Arif PUCIT. And all notebooks for this course are housed in this public data science repository. Well, this is the Jupyter Notebook dashboard running locally on my machine at port 8888. And here is the notebook for lecture number 3.17 of the third module, Python Programming for Data Scientists, for the course titled Tools and Techniques for Data Science. My dear students, this is the 9th session on the Pandas library. And today we are going to discuss and understand a very important concept, and that is aggregation and grouping. Well, this image pictorially describes the concept. First of all, my dear students, aggregation means to collect. Consider this data frame having three columns: date, city and temperature, containing temperature of three cities: Lahore, Karachi and Murray, for 5 days with mentioned dates. For this numerical column temperature of this data frame, one may like to find the maximum or minimum temperature of a particular city, or maybe of this entire data frame. So aggregation means take a list of series of values over here. Let's suppose this temperature column. Apply a function like mean for finding average, mode for finding the most repeating value, or maybe median or the middle value if the data is sorted. My dear students, all these are aggregation functions. We can apply them on columns of our data frame. Now let's talk about grouping of data inside our data frame. Once again, consider this data frame and suppose that we want to find out the minimum temperature of each city, for example of Lahore, of Karachi and of Murray. Over here, one can say that I can do it by just looking at the data over here. And we have five values for Lahore city, 8, 10, 5, 6 and 12. And the minimum is of course 5. And similarly, I can calculate the minimum temperature for Karachi out of these 5 temperatures and of Murray out of these 5 temperatures as well. My dear students, what if there are over 100 cities, and for each city you have, let's suppose, last 10 years daily temperatures, making the total row count of that particular data frame to around 4 lakh. Last but not the least, in this data frame, the data is already grouped by cities more or less. We have Lahore over here, 5 entries, then 5 entries for Karachi and 5 entries for Murray. It would have been difficult to compute the minimum temperature of even this Lahore city with these 16 rows of data if the rows are randomized and not ordered by cities. Okay, I think I have made the stage right for today's task. Well, my dear students, there are two ways of achieving this task, that is getting the minimum temperature of every city. Let us first talk about the way which we already know, and that is shown over here in the bottom. My dear students, we can use this conditional selection of rows, that is using this filter or mask saying select only those rows where city is equal to Lahore. Do note that we can do this in two ways, using simply the subscript operator or using the lock method. and then using the dot operator. Anyways, once any of these two lines will execute, we will get our data frame containing temperature of only Lahore city. Now the next task is we have got this data frame. Now the next task is from this smaller data frame over here, we need to apply an aggregation function, in this case min, over the temperature column of this data frame. In the right bottom over here, I have shown the syntax to do this task. This is the same piece of code which we have mentioned over here, which has generated a data frame for the Lahore city. And on that, I have again using the dot notation to access the temperature series or temperature column only. And on that list of values, I have applied the min method, and I have got 5. Great. My dear students, although this job is done for Lahore city, we can do this for the Karachi city and for the Murree city. But once again, if there are over 100 cities, it will be very cumbersome to change this filter for all the 100 cities to get the 100 minimum temperatures. And then of course, combining these 100 values into a series object maybe for later use. So the solution to this problem is Pandas GroupBy strategy or GroupBy method. And the strategy that is used by the GroupBy method is split, apply, and combine. These are the 3 steps which we normally use for the grouping purpose. Let me discuss them now one by one. Excuse me. Well, in the split step, you use this GroupBy method to split the data into multiple smaller groups based on a column. Over here it is city. The GroupBy method returns a data frame GroupBy object. This entire collection of 3 data frames will be returned by this method, and I am calling the collection of these 3 data frames as a data frame GroupBy object. So this data frame GroupBy object actually contains a view of multiple data frames. So this completes the split step. Even if there are 100 cities, I will get 100 data frames over here. Rather, I will get a data frame GroupBy object that contains the view of all the 100 or more or less cities. Next, we move on to the apply step. In the apply step, we use some appropriate aggregation function, in this case this min function, to get the minimum temperature. So over here df.groupBy city, we have got the data frame GroupBy object GroupBy city, and then I have used the dot notation and I have mentioned the temperature. This will return all the series in all of these data frames, and then I am computing the min on that. So this will straight away generate the resulting series which contains the minimum temperature of Karachi, the minimum temperature of Lahore, the minimum temperature of Murree. Okay, however, my dear students, there can be scenarios where you have to apply some user-defined function or maybe some lambda function on a series object, and maybe you have to apply that function separately on this part of the data frame and then this part and then this part, and you will get different values, and then later you may need to combine that as well. Well, we will see that how we can use the apply method and a lambda function in between to achieve this task. I think enough of theory. Let us now make our hands dirty to do all of these tasks practically. And this is the agenda of today's session. We will practically understand whatever I have discussed, showing you the image, and finally I will practically show you how you can use this GroupBy, whatever we will learn in these 3 sections, on the Stack Overflow survey dataset. Let's start playing. Okay, right. First of all, let me show you the dataset. I have generated a very basic dataset for this purpose. The date, city, temperature, and the humidity column. We have around 15 records, 5 records for each city, and for each city we have the daily temperature and the humidity level. This is a hypothetical data. Okay, so I've used read CSV method to get this data. Great. So let me simply apply the min method on the entire data frame. Remember, I have got this data set inside this df. Over here I'm applying this aggregate function min on this entire data frame. It is giving me the min of all the columns: date, city, temperature, as well as humidity. The minimum date, the minimum city, although this is string, but the minimum work on numeric as well as categorical column. The count aggregate function show you the count. Over here we have all values available in this data frame, so we have 15. Median is normally used for the numeric columns only, so it is giving you a warning. So whenever you want to use median, you can pass this argument: numeric only is equal to true. In that case, this will not give you any warning. Note that this median aggregate function, when applied on this data frame, has given you just two outputs for the numeric columns: temperature and humidity. Great. My dear students, you can apply more than one aggregate function at a time. For that, you can use the agg method, AGG. And to the agg method, you need to pass a list of all the functions that you want to apply on this particular data frame. Remember, you need to pass them in list, and you need to enclose the method names in single quotes. So this way you get a data frame. The date, city, temperature, humidity, these are the 4 columns of our data frame, and the rows are minimum, maximum, mean, and count. So this is the minimum temperature, and this is the maximum temperature, this is the mean, and this is the count of the total values under the temperature column. I hope this is making sense to you all. Well, my dear students, you can always use this describe method on the data frame object. This gives you some descriptive statistical measures on the numeric columns only: the temperature and humidity, the count, mean, standard deviation, min, and these quartiles. Okay. Well, the way I have shown you that we can call these aggregate functions on in the entire data frame. You can apply them on the column of a data frame, that is a series object. So this df temperature, this is a column. This is a column of our data frame having just the temperature values. So this is a series object. I can call min on this, I can call max on this, and I can call mean as well on this. And similarly, you can call the agg method on a series object to get all the statistics on this column values, to get the min, max, mean, count of this temperature column. And the way we have seen that we can call describe method on the entire data frame, we can call describe method on a series as well. Over here I'm applying it on the temperature column. Great. My dear students, we have seen these built-in aggregate functions, how we can apply these on the entire data frame and on a series or column of a data frame. Let's see how we can use user-defined functions or lambda functions on this series. Let's suppose that I have a function that is C2F. This function actually converts the temperature value which is passed to it as a single value to a Fahrenheit. So we pass a centigrade value and it converts it to Fahrenheit. So C2F means centigrade to Fahrenheit. And the formula, you all know that we just need to multiply it with this value, that is 9 divided by 5 plus 32. Okay. So over here I'm using the apply method on this series object. Remember, this is a series. This is the column. Let me df.temperature and let me run it. So this is a series df.temperature, and I am calling this apply method on all the values of this series. So we have seen the use of apply method before as well, I think. So we pass a function to the apply method, and apply method passes each of these values. This 8 will be passed to this C2F, and the returning values will be returned. This 10 will be passed to this C2F, and the resulting value will be returned, and this will continue until all the values in this series, in this column, has been applied by this function, and we will get a new series. So this is the new series. So over here we have temperature 8 at index 0, and over here we have temperature 46.4, which is the Fahrenheit variant of this centigrade. I hope this makes sense. So apply method is very simple. You can always get the help on apply method for the details if you want to. So over here I have used this apply using a user defined function, and over here I have used the apply method using the lambda function, and we have seen the use of lambda functions as well, my dear friends. The lambda keyword, the single argument that is passed, and this is the expression which will be applied on this value x for all the values inside this series. Great. Fine. So with this background, let's move and answer this question, that is the minimum temperature of each city. And we can visually see it from this data frame that for Lahore it is 5, for Karachi it is 10, and for Murray it is -7. So we can do it using two ways. One is the basic way, and the other is using the GroupBy way. Of course, we want to learn using the GroupBy way, but I will use this way that is mentioned at the bottom of this image for better understanding and for you to really understand the power of GroupBy. Okay, so let me read this exact data set. This time we have just 3 columns: date, city, and temperature. Note we don't have humidity over here. For simplicity, I've kept the data frame simple. And the first thing we need to do is we need to split this data frame based on the city. And for that, we have two techniques. One is using simple the subscript operator, and the second is using the lock method. Okay, note this is a Boolean value. This will say return whenever in this data frame we have the value or under the city column equals to Lahore. So this will return a series object having true at those places where we have the city equals Lahore, and false at those places where we have city is not equal to Lahore. Let me check for Karachi. Over here we have now true. Let me check it for Murray. And it is snowing in Murray these days, and the roads are blocked due to a lot of people going there. Anyway, so we have done this before as well, my dear students. This is just a filter or a mask, and I have passed this mask to this data frame, and it will now return all those rows where we have a true over here. So we have a true over here in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So once I will execute this line of code, it will just return only those rows where we have true for Murray, you see. And if I do it something like this, it will return just only those rows where we have true for Lahore. And if I do it something like this, it will return the rows for Karachi. You can do it using the lock method as well. My dear students, to the lock method, once again, I am passing two arguments. The first argument is the mask, which I have discussed. These are the rows which I need to select, and then a comma, and then I need to select all the columns. This column means I need to select all the columns. So remember, these two rows means one and the same thing. So we can select the data frame for Lahore, for Karachi, and for Murray. I hope this is making sense. The limitation of this technique is we have to repeat this process for every city. And if there are over 100 cities, we have to write this code 100 times. Okay, anyway, so let's continue with this technique. Uh, Now, over here we have the data frame. This is the data frame which contains the rows related to only Lahore city. And on this, let me do it like this. So this contains only those rows of the data frame which we have, where we have the records of Lahore city. Let me access the temperature series or temperature column. So now we have just the temperature column, and let me get the min of it. Let me apply the min function on it, and I've got 5. So this is what has been chained over here. This is our data frame, and over here I am saying select only those rows of this data frame where we have city is equal to Lahore, and this column means select all the columns. So we have a complete data frame, a smaller data frame over here. And on this data frame, I am saying please select only the temperature column. And over here, I am calling the main function on it. So this is what I am doing. So I have got all the 3 temperatures. Great. I am going very slow and step by step so that the beginners should have a very fair idea. So once we reach while discussing or analyzing the Stack Overflow survey dataset, you should not face any problem. Anyway, once again, the limitation of this is if there are over 100 cities, we have to apply this for every city. Over here, we have just 3, so this is not a problem. Finally, we need to combine this result. My dear students, this is the result which we have got, which gives us the minimum temperature of Lahore, and then the minimum temperature of Karachi, and then the minimum temperature of Murray. And I am this time saving the return values in 3 variables, Lahore, Karachi, and Murray. And I am using the series method to construct a series object. I'm passing the 3 data values, and I am giving them appropriate labels, and I am giving the series a name as well. So this is how I have got the series in which I have the minimum temperature of Lahore, the minimum temperature of Karachi, and the minimum temperature of Murray. Great. You might also be thinking that we could have applied this min method instead of these separately. We could have applied it on the entire data frame. Well, you can do that at your own. And let me move ahead and talk about the elegant way of doing this thing, that is using the group by. And we all have seen that the grouping technique involves 3 steps: the split, the apply, and the combine. Once again, baby steps. Let us do it again on the same simple data frame having just 3 columns: date, city, and temperature. For the split step, I am just calling the group by method on the city. And let me run it. My dear students, the group by method is going to return a data frame group by object. Remember, this data frame group by object contains a view of all the different data frames grouped by this city, and this is an iterable. If this is an iterable, that means we can iterate it using the for loop, and this is what I have shown over here. I'm saying that iterate on this variable data frame group by object. For every time it will iterate, it will return a data frame, and that will be printed over here. So that means if this data frame group by object is an iterable right now containing the record for 3 cities, that means 3 data frames. So this will run 3 times and finally we will get the 3 data frames. Great. So this is the first data frame for Karachi. This is the second data frame for Lahore. And this is the third data frame for Murray. I hope this makes sense. So just remember, you apply the GroupBy method on the data frame and you group the data frame based on city. We have applied the GroupBy method on this data frame on the city column. So we have got 3 data frames. If there are 100 cities over here, we will get 100 data frames over here. So this is what the split method is, or the split step is. Okay, after the split, we move on to the apply method. But before going on to the apply method, let me tell you some of the attributes of this data frame GroupBy object. The first attribute is groups. My dear students, once you access the groups attribute of this data frame GroupBy object, it will list all the groups that it contains along with the indices. So Karachi records are there at index 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and Lahore are there on 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and Murray on 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And it is written in a pretty dictionary object. Okay, anyway. And similarly, if you want that from this data frame GroupBy object, you want to get a specific data frame, so you can do something like this. You can use the getGroup method. And to the getGroup method, you pass the appropriate city. And once you pass it, you get the appropriate data frame. And if I pass Karachi to it, you will get Karachi. And if I pass Murray to it, and you get error because of the spellings. Okay, great. So that means getGroup method can be called on the data frame GroupBy object, and you pass the appropriate city value over here in this case, and you get the appropriate data frame from that data frame GroupBy object. Okay. And if you want to get the size of every data frame GroupBy object, so you get the size. For the Karachi data frame, we have 5 values. For the Lahore data frame, we have 5 values. And for the Murray data frame, again, we have 5 values. Okay, so I think we have a fair idea about what do you mean by our data frame GroupBy object. So this is clear. After the split step and understanding the GroupBy object, we move on to the next step, and that is the apply step. My dear students, the apply step is simple. Over here you see we have got the appropriate data frame of Lahore, and we are applying we are getting the temperature column on it and applying the min on it. So let me show you this in step by step. So we have the data frame. Great, this is the entire data frame, and we can call GroupBy on it. So we get a GroupBy object. Great. And now on this GroupBy object, of course, let me copy it. I can get the get group of, let's suppose, Lahore. So this is the data frame of Lahore. So this is what I'm saying, that the code up till here returns a data frame. So on this data frame, I can get a particular series. Suppose I get the series temperature. So let me copy this and let me get the series temperature. And on this series temperature, of course, I can apply it. And I get this step. Okay, so I have tried to describe this entire line. So we have got the minimum temperature of all the cities. And of course, then we have the combined step. This we have done before as well. We have used the same piece of code, assign it to this variable KCI, LHR, and Murray, and we have got the series. Well, my dear students, once again, we can do it in one go. We can, instead of applying it on all the cities separately, which is of course cumbersome, we simply apply the min method on this. Well, let me show you this as well. So over here, when I call this temperature on this data frame group by object, remember this is our data frame group by object. On this data frame group by object, I have used a dot notation and mentioned temperature over here. So this has returned me not a simple series, but a series group by object. Remember, this is a data frame group by object and this is a series group by object. And this series group by object actually contains the temperature columns of all the three cities, in our case, Karachi, Lahore and Murray. And on that, once I apply the min method, I will get a series as a result which contains the minimum temperature of Karachi, the minimum temperature of Lahore and minimum temperature of Murray. So after the split, I can straight away use this technique to apply the min method and combine as well. And over here, I have separated it in two steps. I have applied the min method on all the series separately and then I have used combine. So of course, this is a better technique. Anyway, and of course, you can use the agg method on this series group by object. So you get this. So we get a data frame this time. Over here, we have got a series, simple. Great. Okay, my dear friends, now is the time that we have the required skill set. Let's visit this website, Stack Overflow. This contains the annual developer survey for different years. More than 80,000 respondents normally fill up these forms having different questions. You can just download this. This is a huge form. I have downloaded it and I have tailored it to our need. Let me read it. So it is saying that there are 88,883 records and 9 columns. The actual dataset have around 40 or 50 columns. I have just simplified it so that we can understand it easier. Okay, so this is the head of this dataset. Main branch, hobbyist, country, years code, converted computation, language worked with, social media, age and gender. So these are some of the selected columns that I have selected from this dataset. What these columns actually do, you can download that information as well from here, and that is available to you as a CSV file that says schema of that dataset. So let me show you that schema as well. So this is the schema. I have tailored the schema as well. Over here we have 9 columns, and what these 9 columns actually means is shown over here in 2 columns. So this respondent columns means this, main branch means this, hobbyist means this. Okay, so since this data frame, that is the schema data frame, is indexed using this column, as I have mentioned over here, so you can use the lock method on it, schema.lock hobbyist. So let's find out what actually this means. So this says the question is, do you code as a hobby? So this is the question, and the answer can be yes or no. And this is the data frame of this data frame containing the actual responses of all the people who have responded to the Stack Overflow survey. So this is the schema which tells you about this column. So what is the question? And this is the actual data frame containing the data, and this is the series containing the responses. Well, you see most of the responses are yes or no. Similarly, the country column, uh, where is the country? This is the country column. Naturally, this is the uh, resident country of the respondent. So schema says the question is, in which country do you currently reside? And let me see the entire column. So these are the different values, 88863, and maybe rest of some of them are NAN. And this is converted comp. This is about the yearly salary of that person, salary converted to USD dollars. And these are the values under this column. So these are the annual salaries in US dollars of that particular person who have attempted this survey. And then we have the languages worked with column. And the question is, which of the following programming scripting languages you work with? Actually, this notebook truncates the length of this. If you want to see the complete question, you can use the cat command. Let me show that to you. The name is schema. Okay. And the question for this language work with, this is, which of the following programming, scripting and markup languages have you done extensive level development in over the past 1 year, and which do you want to work in over the next years if you both worked with the language and want to blah blah blah. So this is a question that has been truncated over here. Anyway, and this is the response, languages worked with. And this response tells you that this particular respondent is saying that he has experience of working in C++, HTML, CSS, Java, JavaScript, Python, SQL, VBA. These are the languages in which this particular respondent has worked. Okay, and then we have the column social media, and the question is, what social media site do you use the most? And these are the expected responses. So this person has used Facebook the most, this person is using Instagram the most, and so on. Okay, so let's see the data frame again. So now you have a fair idea about most of the columns over here, and you can dig out more. Let's do some analysis on that. Let's see the count, or let's run the count method on this column, hobbyist, on this column. Let me run the count method on this, and it's saying 88883. So this is the count which exactly match the number of rows in this. And let me call values count on this, and the values count is 71,257 said yes, they do code for hobby, and these says they do not code for hobby. One other important point is that this count doesn't need to be exactly matching with this. This count just shows the non-NA values. So that means everyone has answered to this. Probably this is a checkbox or an option button with the default value. Let's see the count for country as well. So if we run it for country, so this said 88751. So that means under the country column, we do have NAN values, because the total count for the country for the entire data frame is 88883, but over here we have 88751. Great. And let me check the different values. So this means that 20,949 respondents belong to the United States country, 9,061 belong to India, and 3,395 to Canada, and so on. And if I just get the count of these, so this count shows that there are 179 different countries whose respondents have practically attempted this entire survey of Stack Overflow. So please, my dear friends, do play with this so that you have a fair idea about all the dataset. Let me call count on converted comp, that is the salary. So 55823 people have given their salaries, and they have given different values. This says that 1,50,000 US dollars. 434 respondents said their salary is this, and 502 respondents said that their salary is this, and one respondent said that his salary is this. So these are unique numbers, so that's why they are single. And the mean, of course, and the median as well of this column, that is the salary column. You can note the difference between mean and median, quite difference. Normally in such scenarios, mean is not the appropriate way to find out the average, because the outliers affect this aggregation functions too much. So you can see the mean is 1,27,000, which doesn't seems okay. Anyway, so let us now move ahead, and after understanding this data set, let's try answering certain questions. And the first question is, list the most popular social media website for every country. So social media website. So this is the social media column. So this is a social media column. Actually, this student said that he used Twitter. This said that Instagram, Reddit, and so on. What we want is that we want to group it by the countries, and then from each country we need to find out the count, and then this answer will be replied. This question will be replied. Okay, so let me say df dot group by, and of course I want to group by country. And if I do that, of course, I get our data frame group by object. And from this data frame group by object, of course, we can get the data frame of my country, Pakistan. And let me use the get group method. And let me pass Pakistan. Great. So this is the data frame for Pakistan. You can see the country column has only Pakistan over here, and we have 923 rows. That means there were 923 developers from Pakistan who have responded to this survey. And this person is saying that he likes WhatsApp the most. This is saying that he likes Facebook the most, and LinkedIn, and so on. Since this is a data frame, and we are having the country over here as well, let me copy paste it, and let me use the lock method on it, and let me say that I want to select all the rows, but I want to select only one column, and that is this social media. Let me copy paste it over here like this. So we have got a series now. So this is a series in which we have got the social media column for the country Pakistan. Okay, so once again, let me copy this and let me paste it over here. So I have to apply the method value counts. I think that will do the job. So value counts method will give me the count of the values over here, unique values. Okay, great. So WhatsApp 266. So WhatsApp is the most popular social media app used in Pakistan. And Facebook has a count of 232, YouTube has a count of 182, LinkedIn has a count of 71. Remember, this over here is the respondent ID. This over here is the respondent ID who said that he likes Facebook the most. And over here we have the count. So this is the power of the value counts method. So this shows that in Pakistan, the most popular social media website is WhatsApp, and then we have Facebook, as per the survey, of course. But we wanted to have this information for all the countries, my dear students. So let us create a series a group by object, as we did before as well. So let me copy this data frame group by object, and let me get a series. Social media, I think I have copied it. Yes. Nope. So now I have got a series group by object. Remember, my dear students, this we have done before as well. Now this series group by object will have the social media series of all the data frames of this data frame group by object, and we can of course call the value count method on this now. I think yes, great. So probably if I have head over here, you will get a better idea. Let me show you 50 records of it. Let me copy paste it. So this is the same thing, but over here you will get all the records. You see this is again a series for the country Afghanistan only. Over here in Afghanistan, the mostly used social media website is Facebook. In Albania, we have WhatsApp. In Algeria, we have YouTube, and so on. Note that this series has multiple indices, rather two indices over here in this case. One is this country and the other is social media. Okay, so let me copy this and once again check out for Pakistan. Let me paste this over here and let me say dot log. The rows I want to select are this time of Pakistan, and for all the columns. Remember, this time I'm using this. So this is the same result that we got before. And if I want to get about China, a friend of ours, so WeChat, they are using WeChat. So my dear students, we have successfully answered the first question by listing the most popular social media website for all the countries. For all the countries, remember, for a better view. So we have got the social media website in sequence for all the countries. Great. So let's move on to the next question. And the next question is what percentage of people in each country knows Python programming? Well, my dear students, we don't have the data, remember, for the entire population of every country. However, we do have the data for this stack-based stack overflow survey, and whatever the answer I will give you, that will be based on this survey. So to calculate the required percentage, I need to know two values. Okay, so let me mention those two values over here. And the first value is I want to find out the total count of people from each country who participated in the survey. So I want to find this count. Let me say TC. And the next question is the Python count. Let me say PC. Count of people from each country who knows Python. And if I get these two values, I can easily calculate the percentage. Okay, so the column of our interest once again is this country and the languages worked with. Okay, so to count the total number of people of each country who participated in the survey, I think it's quite easy. We can get it using this country column, this series over here, and on this series I can easily use this value counts method. So this value counts will give me this value counts, and United States 20949, India 9061, and so on. So this is the total count of people from each country who participated in the survey. Great. So let me save this inside a variable. This was simple. And tc, let me say the value of this is, yes, great. I can also name this. Right now its name is country. Let me name this series. We can name it as total. Name is equal to total. And let me run it again. So now this series has an appropriate name. Okay, great. So we have got this TC. The next task is that we need to find out can we do this using the GroupBy method by grouping the countries? Let me try that. df dot GroupBy, of course on country. So I have got the GroupBy object, and I can get the series object on country even again. So I've got the series GroupBy object, and over here I can of course apply a lambda function, and on that I can say value count again. So this is a lengthier way. Okay, so we have issue with the syntax. So we are applying lambda on this x dot value underscore counts lambda lambda. Okay, sorry. So we have got this. Great. And let me check out for United States. Okay, so 20949 20949. So this is another way of doing it, of course. But this time, of course, once we do it like this, we have again a series object having two indices. Both are countries. Anyway, so you can use anything. So we have got the total count of people from each country who participated in the survey, and we have saved it in this variable tc. Now get the count of people from each country who knows Python. So now this is the task we need to do. And let me get that particular series df.log. I want to get all the rows, but as far as the columns are concerned, I want the column that has languages worked with. Let me copy this and paste it over here. So great. So this is actually a string column containing semicolon separated languages or name of languages, and we want to find out only those records which have this Python string in them. Okay, so let me start with creating a data frame group by object, of course by country df dot group by, and let me pass country to it. So we have got the object, and let me create a series object now, and for that I can just this, yes, and a series object of course on this column. So we have got a series group by object. So half of our task is done. We now just need to use the apply method as we have done above on all the values of these series group by object, so that we can get only those strings which have Python in them. And let me copy paste it. Let me use dot and apply. Please help me out. Lambda. Okay. Now this X now contains this string, this entire string, and I want this to return true if it contains Python. Okay, so X dot contains the string Python. So let's check out. Oops. So do I have missed something? I have to typecast it. Yes. So we have got a series containing Boolean values with true or false, uh, having true value at the place where we have Python. So we have at 1 and 2 we have true. So at 1 we have Python and at 2 we have Python. Great. And at 3 we do not have Python. And at 3 we do not have Python. We have false. Now my dear students, we know that Python considers true as 1 and false as 0. So let us change our lambda function a little bit. Let me copy this over here. Let me paste it over here. And let me use this sum method in between. And this will give me the sum. Great. So this is giving me the sum. I think our job is done. Let me save this series in a variable, let's suppose pp. So let me use this variable pp to get the values. Yes, it has the values, and the name is language worked with. The name seems to be fine to me. So now we have both the values. We need to now combine these. Let me combine them. Let me create a resulting data frame, and let me use the .concat method of the pandas, and we will discuss these concat, join and merge in the next session inshallah. For the time being, just remember that pandas concat method is used to concatenate 2 or more pandas objects along a particular axis. So I just want to concatenate this tc and pp, total count and python people, along the axis is equal to 1, because we want to concatenate them horizontally. And let me show you this data frame. Great. So we have done. We have United States, the total number of people who participated in the survey, and out of them, these were the people who knows Python. Let me check out for Pakistan. Result df.loc, and let me check out Pakistan now. Okay, it's fine. And Pakistan, 923 people participated in the survey, and out of them 251 knows Python. Great. But actually probably we need to find out the percentage. So for that, I think it's not difficult now. And percentage, we just need to divide this by this and multiply it by 100. Excuse me. This session has gone a bit long and my throat has gone thirsty. Okay, just 2-3 more minutes. Let me say result df. Let me create another column in it, and that column should contain what? It should contain whatever in this total, not total, language worked with. Rather, this is not an appropriate name for that. Let me change this name. Let me change this name to .name knows Python. This is a bit better. So now it has a name knows Python. Yes. Okay, good. And this is no space Python, and I just want to divide this by total. Well, yes, I think, and I need to multiply it by 100, and let me enclose it in brackets so that we don't have any issue of precedence. Great. Let me check out the result. Okay, so this is great. We have finally answered the question, that is the percentage of people of each country who knows Python. And let me once again check out the percentage of Pakistan. And well, 27%. So just 27% of Pakistani people who participated in this survey knows Python. My dear friends, there may be easier and shorter way of doing this task. This is just one way, and the main objective was that we should be able to have a very clear idea about the three steps involved in the grouping operation: split, apply, and combine. We started with a smaller data set and we ended at a bigger data set, and I'm sure that you all must have understood the concept of split, apply, and combine. Okay, my dear students, this was a lengthier session, but it has ended finally. That is all for today. We will inshallah continue our journey to learn Python programming for data scientists in our next session. I hope today's session was informative for you all. If you have liked it, please subscribe my YouTube channel and share it with your friends. I wish you all the best. Happy learning and Allah Hafiz.